Hoping to build a billion-dollar carbon capture pipeline across Iowa has filed lawsuits against Shelby and Story County. Summit Carbon Solution is asking the court to throw out new rules requiring more space between the pipeline and homes, churches, and schools. The ruling would also impact two other companies who have plans for similar projects in the state. County officials say these new ordinances are not meant to stop the projects, but rather give people a buffer if there is a pipeline rupture.